For centuries, people have asked, what happened to Jesus in the 3 days between his death and resurrection? The Gospels tell us that he was crucified. After 6 agonizing hours, he uttered his final words, "It is finished." With that, he bowed his head and surrendered his spirit. His lifeless body was taken down, wrapped in fine linen, and placed in a borrowed tomb. A great stone was rolled over the entrance, and Roman guards were stationed to ensure no one could steal the body. But though Jesus' body lay in the grave, his spirit was not at rest. Something powerful was happening beyond the veil of the physical world, something no eye could see, no witness could record, and no grave could contain. Where did Jesus go? What did he do? Tonight we uncover the mystery. The sky darkened, the earth trembled, the temple veil was torn in two. As blood and water flowed from his side, Jesus spoke his last words, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." Luke 23:46. At that moment, his body fell lifeless, but his mission was far from over. The disciples mourned. The Roman soldiers stood in awe. The Pharisees, thinking they had won, hurried home before the Sabbath began. Yet in the unseen realm, Jesus had already begun his greatest act of victory. Before his final breath, Jesus made a promise. As he hung between 2 criminals, one of them, convicted of his sins, pleaded, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." Luke 23:42. And Jesus replied, "Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." Luke 23:43. Paradise, a place of rest, a waiting ground for the righteous who had died before Christ's sacrifice. The faithful, Abraham, Moses, David, the prophets, they were all there, waiting. And now, Jesus had come. Did he walk among them, proclaiming that their salvation was now complete? Did he tell them that the long-awaited Messiah had finally conquered sin and death? The Bible does not give us all the details, but what we do know is this: the King had arrived, and his work was just beginning. But while Jesus comforted the righteous in paradise, there was another place he needed to go. The Apostle Peter writes, "After being made alive, he went and made proclamation to the imprisoned spirits, to those who were disobedient long ago." 1 Peter 3:19-20. Jesus descended into Hades. Hades, also called Sheol, was the realm of the dead, a place divided between paradise and torment. Some believe Jesus entered the depths of hell itself. But why? Was he there to declare his victory over sin, death, and Satan? Was he confronting the fallen angels, those bound in chains for their rebellion against God? Paul tells us, having disarmed the powers and authorities, he made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them by the cross. Colossians 2:15. Imagine the scene. The prince of darkness, thinking he had won, now stood face to face with the risen Christ. The chains of death shattered, the power of sin was broken, and the kingdom of darkness trembled before the one true King. But Jesus did not leave alone. Paul gives us another clue in Ephesians 4:8. When he ascended on high, he led captives in his train and gave gifts to his people. But Jesus did not leave alone. Paul gives us another clue in Ephesians 4:8. When he ascended on high, he led captives in his train and gave gifts to his people. Who were these captives? Many believe these were the faithful saints of the Old Testament, those who had trusted in God but had not yet received the full promise of salvation. Jesus had now paid the price in full. Their waiting was over, and so he led them out. From the depths of Sheol through the gates of eternity, Jesus brought the righteous into the presence of God, where they would dwell forever. On the 3rd day, the stone rolled away. The grave was empty. Jesus had risen. Mary Magdalene stood weeping outside the tomb, her heart shattered with grief. But then a voice called her name, Mary. She turned and saw him alive, glorified, victorious, for death had lost its sting. The grave had been defeated, and now the way to eternal life had been opened for all who would believe. What happened in those 3 days was not a mystery of defeat. It was the greatest victory ever won. Jesus did not remain in the grave. He descended to the depths, proclaimed his triumph, shattered the chains of darkness, and led the captives to freedom. And today, that same victory is available to you. Because of his sacrifice, you are no longer bound by sin, no longer held captive by fear, no longer enslaved to death. Jesus has risen, and because of that, we have hope. So I ask you, do you believe? If this message has inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe as we continue to explore the mysteries and wonders of the Bible. God bless you.